In this video, uh, we are going to start a new module 4th of this course, Experimental Techniques in Physics, paper first. So this module is vacuum measurement and low temperature techniques. So in the first video of this module, I am going to explain uh, on vacuum gauges, especially McLeod gauge. I'm going to explain in this particular video. So vacuum gauges, that means a device or an instrument that is used to measure a pressure which is well below the atmospheric pressure. So vacuum, as you know, it is a pressure lower than the atmospheric pressure. So the gauges which are used for measurement of such pressure, these are vacuum gauges. Now you might have studied the pressure gauges where for example the Bourdon tube, bellows, diaphragms, they are used to measure pressures which are greater than the atmospheric pressure. But here we are going to study pressure gauges which need to measure a vacuum. So the basic difference is in the principle on which they actually work. So let us first of all see what is the principle of these vacuum gauges. So you can see here the pressure gauges, they can be classified into two groups. First is direct reading gauges and second is indirect reading gauges. So direct reading gauges means the direct reading gauges means the measurement of force exerted on the surface of wall of the container, and these are used for high pressure measurement, that means pressure which is greater than atmospheric pressure. So what is the property? When the gas molecules, they are placed in a container, they are in random motion and they are exerting force on the walls of the container. So this force is measured, and that is the basic principle of operation of direct reading gauges. So they are used for measurement of pressure which is greater than atmospheric pressure. Whereas the second type, that is indirect reading gauges, they are actually indirect reading gauges record the pressure by measuring a gas property that changes in a predictable manner with gas density. So when the gas density changes, gas density means number of gas molecules per unit volume, there are certain changes in the certain properties of gas. So this gas property, change in gas property, that can be related with the level of vacuum or for vacuum measurement. So when gas density changes, that means number of gas molecule per unit volume changes, that means you are going to lower and lower pressure level, that means towards a high level of vacuum. So in that case, gas properties will certainly change. Some of the gas property changes. So we can just uh, calibrate this change in gas property for measurement of vacuum. So that is the basic principle of operation of the vacuum gauges. Here gas property is related to the gas density, and that can be used for measurement of the vacuum. So that is the basic difference between the direct reading gauges and the indirect reading gauges. Now the first type of gauge, vacuum gauge, that we are going to study here in this video is McLeod gauge. So this was the very early stage vacuum measurement gauge, and even though right now it is not very much used, but still it is a good device for laboratory level calibration. So the McLeod gauge is a simple mercury manometer in which a volume of a gas is compressed before measurement. So before actual measurement of vacuum, the a certain known volume of the gas will be compressed. For example, compressing a small volume of gas at 10 raised to minus 2 Pascal. This is just an example. Suppose you have a gas which is at 10 raised to minus 2 Pascal and you are compressing by 10,000 times. So that will result into a measurable pressure of 100 Pascal. So you can easily measure the pressure of 100 Pascal. So instead of measuring a pressure of 10 raised to minus Pascal, what is done? The gas is compressed by 10,000 times. So the pressure will become 100 Pascal and now you will be able to measure it. So this is the actual principle how the MacLeod gauge works. So this is the primary standard in the 10 raised to minus 3 to 10 raised to 2 Pascal pressure range. So this may be the you can say the operating range of this MacLeod gauge. From the ratio of initial and compressed volume. So before compressing, the initial volume is known to us, and after compressing, the volume one can measure. So from these two volumes and the initial system pressure, you can apply the Boyle's law. You know, PV is equal to constant according to Boyle's law. So you can apply here Boyle's law in this particular technique while measuring the system pressure. System pressure means the vacuum system pressure. So you can apply Boyle's law easily here once you compress the gas. So a known volume of gas is compressed by some known factor, and if you know the initial pressure that you have applied here, and you can find out the vacuum by applying the vacuum pressure by applying the Boyle's law. So this is the actual device. You can see here the MacLeod gauge. This is the structure or diagram of MacLeod gauge. So you can see this left hand limb here, or the two limbs you can see, left hand, and this is the right hand limb. So left hand limb consists of a large bulb. You can see having this bulb is extended at its top by a closed vertical fine capillary. You can see the capillary is attached to this bulb here. So a vertical fine capillary tube L. So let us represent this capillary tube by L, and having a total volume V above the junction X level. So from this junction, the total volume of this left limb is V. So we have a capillary L here attached to this particular bulb. Now the right hand limb, you can see this right hand limb, it is connected at the top to the vacuum system. So the system where you are going to measure the vacuum, but it divides into, you can see here, it divides into parts so that there is a capillary section R here. Okay, so at this point it is divided into two parts. One is going to the capillary section R, and this is the straight tube which is going to the vacuum system. And at the joint, again at the junction, it is coming to junction X. So the right hand limb is connected to at the top to the vacuum system, and it divides in parts so that there is a capillary section R identical in bore to that of L and located alongside it. That means the bore size of R, this capillary R and this L, they are same. They are same, and they are almost parallel to each other, you can say. Now below this junction X, you can see there is a reservoir. Okay, so that is a reservoir of mercury with a means attached to raise or lower the mercury level. So there is a system which is not shown in this diagram, by which you can apply the pressure here, just like a manometer type of arrangement here. So that pressure will be known to us, and that pressure will rise the level of the mercury. You can see this gray level. So right now it has increased here up to this level, but initially it has not raised to such level. So initially the mercury will be there inside this level. So what will be there then in these two tubes? So whatever the gas present in the chamber, vacuum chamber, that will enter into these tubes, and also to the left limb and right limb. Okay, so the gas will be present here before applying the pressure to this mercury. So mercury has not arisen in these two limbs of or two tubes here. Initially there is a simply gas, and what is the pressure of this gas? That will be the system pressure or vacuum system pressure. This picture actually shows when you apply the pressure here at the reservoir and the mercury rises here. So the second position is shown. But before applying the pressure, only gas is present here in both of these two limbs. Now the mercury level is lowered below point X, so that entire gas is exhausted to the same pressure as the chamber. Okay, so initially the mercury level is below X, so that the gas will enter into both of these limbs here. Okay, it can enter from this side and it will also go to the left limb also. And what is the pressure? It is the pressure same as that of the gas inside the chamber. That means the whatever the vacuum level present here, that will be the pressure of the gas inside this McLeod tube. Okay, so for measurement, the reservoir is pressurized. Now here we will apply the pressure. So what will happen? So by a controlled manner, if you apply pressure here, the mercury will rise. Okay, but when it comes at X, that is junction X, so the mercury will go here also and will go to the left limb also. So what will happen? The gas which was already present here, it will be now trapped in the left limb and it will be pressurized. It will be pressurized because mercury is rising. You are applying pressure on the pressure reservoir and the mercury will rise. So whatever the gas present inside this particular volume V, that will be pressurized. Okay, so as it reaches the level X, a volume V is isolated at the system pressure P. So as the mercury level is raised further to reach the level Y, you can see here it is marked over here in the right limb at point R. In this tube R, the mercury level in L has also compressed the isolated gas to occupy a length H. So this gas is compressed so that whatever the space available in this tube, that is having height H, that to that level this isolated gas will be compressed. And on this side you can see the mercury level rises up to, in the right limb it rises up to the mark at point Y. So this is the another capillary R having the same bore, and at this point up to Y point the mercury level has risen here. So you can see here the difference between these, H is the difference between these two levels. You can see here this mercury level and this mercury level. So that is the difference H, and H is also the height up to which the isolated gas in left limb, that means in volume V, has been compressed. Now the H value is, as I have mentioned, difference in mercury levels at both the two capillaries. Now if A is the cross section area of the capillary, any capillary, you can say either L or R because both are same, then if A is the cross sectional area of the capillaries, by Boyle's law the pressure in the volume prior to compression, okay, prior to compression means when we have not applied pressure here and mercury has not rise here. So by Boyle's law, the pressure in the volume prior to compression, which is equal to the chamber pressure to be measured, we can calculate easily. How to calculate? Let us see now. The volume of the gas after compression will be H into A, okay, where H is the height of this particular gas column and A is the cross section area of this tube. So H into A will be the volume of the gas after compression. Now the pressure after compression is 9.963 H. Okay, so this is a specially calculate factor. So that need to be considered here for understanding the pressure after compression here. Now the volume prior to compression, That means when the mercury has not rise above this X junction, so the volume prior to compression is V plus L into A. Okay, so this volume of this particular bulb, and L this total length of this capillary, and A is the cross section of this capillary. So V plus LA, where L is the total length of precision bore tubing and A is the cross section area. So that is the volume prior to compression. But after compression, the volume decreases. Now, according to Boyle's law, you know that PV is equal to constant, then unknown pressure, that means this vacuum system pressure. So you can easily find out by this equation. How? So the initial pressure PV, and after the ratio PV, so that will be equal. So PV is equal to constant. So prior compression, what is the pressure P, and volume V plus LA, that is equal to 9.963 H, that is the pressure after compression, into volume A into H, A into H. So this equation is important here. That will help us to measure the unknown pressure, that is the vacuum pressure here. So vacuum pressure P, that will be equal to, you can take this V plus LA on the right hand side. So this term divided by V plus LA, that will be the pressure of the vacuum system. So 9.963 AH into 2 divided by V plus LA. So that will be the actual pressure that we want to measure here. So the nonlinear scale located alongside capillary L is calibrated directly in pressure units. So one can easily measure the vacuum system pressure in this particular manner. So actually this is a H square, because this H and this H, okay. So this two, it is not a suffix here, it is actually square, AH square divided by V plus LA, because H into H, that will become H square. Okay, so the you can just calibrate the scale here also on the tube, and it can be used for the measurement of pressure. So the gauge had to be very well constructed. While constructing this gauge, care should be taken, and it should be very well maintained also, because otherwise the accuracy will be very poor in this particular case. And it is required a considerable skill in its operation for good accuracy. So there are a lot of limitations. It should be properly maintained, constructed, and while operating also, it should be care should be taken. Very proper measurement is required in this particular case. So the range of 10 to 10 raised to minus 3 millibar is still available commercially, this McLeod gauge, and it is very useful in routine laboratory calibration of other vacuum gauges also, low level vacuum gauges also. So this is what the very initial stage of vacuum gauge, that is the McLeod gauge.